holders. The visit was part of the COAS's operational tour of the Terror-Ravaged state, where kidnapping and relentless violence by bandits and other criminal elements had of late become a regular occurrence. Shaibu's visit aimed to review the prevailing security situation. Now, this comes after 5 people were said to have lost their lives when bandits attacked Old National Park Service, that's NPS office in Oloka Orire local government area of Oyo State. Meanwhile, the police says that it has foiled a planned kidnapping of children in the Kasuwan Magani area of Kaduna State, following actionable intelligence received. Acting on the tip-off, the divisional police officer of Kasuwan Magani mobilized operatives to the area where the suspects were engaged and repelled. Parading the suspects and victims, the Kaduna State Police Command confirmed that 76 boys and girls aged between 7 and 20 were rescued unharmed during the operation, while 3 suspects were arrested. Preliminary investigations indicate that the suspects were transporting the children to different parts of the country for child labor and domestic work. The suspects are currently in custody as investigations continue to identify other accomplices, while the rescued children are awaiting reunification with their parents or guardians. Now, to news relating with geopolitics. The U.S. has introduced new travel restrictions that could require Nigerians applying for B1, B2, and business visas to post bonds of up to $15,000. According to information published on the website of the U.S. Department of State, the payment of a bond does not guarantee visa issuance, adding that fees paid without the direction of a consular officer will not be refunded. Visa bonds are financial guarantees required for certain foreign nationals from countries classified as high risk. The implementation dates vary by country, with Nigeria's date set for January 21st of this year. African countries account for 24 of the 38 listed countries. Now back to local politics, as Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has scolded Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, describing him as, and I quote, a bad child who lacks gratitude. Wike declared that his Rainbow Coalition will win all elective positions in the state by 2027. The Rainbow Coalition he's referring to is APC and PDP working together to produce winners in an election. He used that model in the last local government elections, where his loyalists in the APC won 20 of the 23 local governments in the state, while the PDP was allowed to win just 3 local governments. Still on local politics, the vice presidential candidate of Labour Party in the 2023 elections, Datti Baba Ahmed, has given a hint about his possible participation in the 2027 election on the platform of the party. He said he harbors no grudge against Peter Obi for leaving the Labour Party, a platform which he said gave them an opportunity to garner at least 6 million votes. Baba Ahmed addressed party supporters at the party's national headquarters in Abuja. He said he contested for the presidency in 2019 before Peter Obi and agreed to partner with him in 2023 because he saw an opportunity to unite Nigerians and accepted it. Earlier, the Julius Abure leadership of the party expressed confidence that Peter Obi's departure from the party will not adversely affect the party's fortunes in 2027. Now, lastly, in judicial issues, the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted bail to former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, his son, Abdulaziz, and his wife, Bashir Asabe, as the court is set to begin trial amidst allegations of interference with the case. Also, Justice Nuite has ordered the interim forfeiture of 57 properties allegedly linked to Abubakar Malami. He granted the order following an ex parte application filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The multi-billion naira assets, including luxury residential and commercial properties, are located in Abuja, Kebbi, Kano, and Kaduna states. Although the ruling was delivered on Tuesday, a certified true copy was obtained on Wednesday. The judge directed that the order should be published in a national daily, inviting anyone with interest in the properties to show cause within 14 days why a final forfeiture order should not be made. The case was adjourned to January 27 for a report on compliance. Now we move to strike action as resident doctors across Nigeria will resume a total, indefinite and comprehensive strike from 12 a.m. on Monday, January 12, 2026, following a directive by the National Association of Resident Doctors to its 91 accredited centers nationwide. The president of ARD Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Yaba, Lagos, Okuoga Temitope, who spoke after their Congress on Wednesday, said none of their demands has been met despite signing a memorandum of understanding with the federal government. The doctors listed their unresolved issues to include the reinstatement of the Lokoja 5 doctors, unpaid salaries and allowances, delayed promotions and partial implementation of professional allowances.
These conversations are not new to the government. We keep having the same problems year in, year out, and it is even worthy of note that the previous control that was at hospital level has now been taken away to Abuja, which makes the process of upgrading doctors' salaries more bureaucratic and even slower. So people are working and are not getting paid, they're accumulating more money, and it takes longer time for them to be promoted. Other issues are issues like the entry level for resident doctors. Resident doctors should be placed on Commerce 3 Step 3. And even up till now, after agreements have been signed, resident doctors are being given letters for Commerce 2 Step 2. That is more than 100,000 naira deduction in salaries. We have house officers being excluded from the civil service scheme. A lot of them not being paid. A lot of them are yet to receive December salaries. We have doctors still working prolonged hours. Call rosters are being released in this January, and we still have doctors being put on call for even more than 24, 48 hours. We have salary arrears in some facilities. Up to 18 months in some hospitals, like FMC or they have not been paid for up to 18 months. No salaries at all, not even arrears or a part of the salary, no salaries at all. These are issues that we are dealing with on a daily basis. And all these issues have been discussed with the federal government. The federal government listened and said we should call off the strike, after which it was suspended. We entered into an agreement with the federal government. The memorandum of understanding was signed by NARD and the federal government, leading to the suspension of the strike for 30 days. 30 days being enough to implement these agreements. I tell you today that since the suspension of this strike, the demands have not gotten the attention that they need.
All right, quite a potpourri of stories this morning. We're looking at all issues from security, which continues to be on the front burner nationwide, and the pleasant news that the police foiled what would have been a mass kidnapping of children in transit to other parts of the country. Politics continues, or rather should we say it's heating up.
It is.
And then of course we're also looking at the United States and some potential strike action from impending strike action from resident doctors.
We do have a whole host of stories happening in Nigeria and indeed around the world. Okay, so firstly, with the rescue of the children, fantastic. I think that when we talk about the insecurity in this country, we are talking about it obviously as an issue of complete national concern. And the issue that we find ourselves is that it seems as though we are constantly reporting a bandit attack here, a kidnapping here, people being murdered here, land being seized here. And so in order to combat that and for citizens in this country to feel as though their leadership is working and doing the good work, these are the types of stories that we need to have more of. And so that is a wonderful thing that these children have been rescued. But in and of that, even though they have been rescued, clearly they are still vulnerable to attack. There is issues that still need to be addressed where, earlier this week we were talking about how there had been another kidnapping in Patri, another series of attacks happening in Niger State, and some of the people who were recently rescued were then vulnerable to attack again. So it doesn't do much in terms of making people feel confident that their leadership is the needful when it comes to security, but definitely we commend the security apparatus for doing this well. So thank thankfully, these children have been rescued and will eventually be returned home. But when they get home, the point is that they need to be safe there. Their communities need to be secure. And there has to be more happening at the grassroots level to make sure that people don't continue to be victims of repeat offences. 76 children were able to be rescued from suspected traffickers, as we're seeing on the screen there. And we're hoping that we're moving to a direction where this doesn't continue to become the norm. Moving on, I know there are a lot of stories I'll leave to you all to also decipher, but looking at this issue with United States issuing this need for Nigerian people who are applying for visas to pay this $15,000 bond. Listen, we talk a lot about visa restrictions. We talk a lot about how countries have the right. It is their discretion to issue visas. I don't think anybody is confused about that. But I do think we're getting to a point where it feels unjustified. Yes, we see the data. We do hear what the United States is saying in terms of overstaying or crimes being committed by people who travel into the United States on visas. However, I do think that sometimes these types of decisions can do more harm than good, especially for the vast majority of law-abiding travelers, people who do what they need to do to get their visas and go to these countries and do not cause any issues. I know that Dr. Rubin and Vimba, you're both travelers. I know that you abide the laws when you travel, right? So there shouldn't be this underhanded expectation or belief that Nigerian travelers are less worthy of respect. I think that $15,000 is a lot of money. $1,000 is a lot of money because that doesn't defray the cost of the ticket or your hotel or your accommodation or anything when it comes to traveling. So it shouldn't be, I don't want us to move into a point in this world where people are being made to feel as though they don't have the right to do certain things. Everyone should have the right, as long as they're law-abiding, to travel wherever they please. So I'm a bit uncomfortable with those types of issues. And I think that this is just another example of Trump's America, again, becoming a lot more isolationist and painting other countries in a negative light. No country is perfect. America itself is not perfect. America is not the bar of perfection for other countries. And yes, we can say that you don't have to travel to these countries, and if you don't like their rules, don't go there. But that's really not the world that I want to be a member of. I want us to truly live a global world where people are free to do the needful as long as they are abiding by laws. I think that that's what we should be focusing on, actually. So those are my submissions today.
Okay, quite a potpourri of subjects.
Yes.
I hope there will be enough time to look at them before the producer starts shouting. Now, first, let's deal with Wike, who says he's having a rainbow coalition that is going to shut out everybody in Rivers State. And it seems to me that he doesn't have that right. In fact, the Director of Information of the APC, in addition to the chairman of the party, Ituada Nentawe, and the spokesperson of the party, Ajibola Basiru, have more or less said that Wike is a busybody who has no business interfering in the affairs of the All Progressives Congress, the ruling party, because as far as they are concerned, he's a member of the People's Democratic Party. The same People's Democratic Party has rejected him, saying that he's not their member. And they've repeated it again and again. But the more fundamental issues are as follows. You have a minister of the Federal Capital Territory who has abandoned his duty post and is in Rivers State playing politics door to door, house to house, and saying he's campaigning for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Okay, the party itself says they have not sent him on any message. It seems to me, to that extent, that the FCT minister is undermining President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and exposing him for contempt of the Nigerian people as follows. The INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, has not even blown the whistle as regards political campaigns. He is busy in Rivers State conducting campaigns. And so what is INEC supposed to do in this particular regard? So when you talk about Rivers State, it looks like an act of indiscipline on the part of the FCT minister. It looks like an act of irresponsibility on the part of the FCT minister. After all, yesterday, I was still defending him, saying that it has nothing to do with whatever happened in terms of the one-child crisis in the Federal Capital Territory. And I stand by that defense in the spirit of fairness. But what, Nyesom Wike is doing in Rivers State is very ridiculous. Neither toad nor frog. And I think that the embarrassment to the president of Nigeria does not amount to help. It amounts to, trying to upstage the president of Nigeria. And therefore, we're not surprised that principal members of the All Progressives Congress have complained accordingly. That's the first point that I saw. As for the United States, asking for between $5,000, $15,000 as visa bond. Yes. You know that President Trump is an anti-globalist, and he has not hidden that. Whether with the operation of the Customs Enforcement Border Department or the ICE, Immigration Enforcement in parts of the United States. The most dramatic event happening in the state of Minnesota, in the twin states of Minneapolis and St. Paul. So he's anti-globalism, he's a provincial, president. He's saying keep the non-Americans, the illegal immigrants, the fraudulent immigrants like the Somalis, as he says, keep them out. However, what is available to the 37 countries that are now being given visa bond under customary international law is what is called reciprocity.
Yes.
And we have seen Mali and I think Burkina Faso saying that, okay, if you don't want us in your country, we too don't want you here. So all those countries that are affected, including Nigeria, they have the option of reciprocity. If the United States says, we have to pay $15,000 bond for B1, B2 visas, Nigeria can courageously, and I hope Nigeria will be courageous enough in that direction to say that, well, this is diplomacy. We are also imposing similar sanctions on your country. So that is not a big issue. It's just about reciprocity. What was the other topic again? Oyo State. Yes. Now, in Oyo State, in the particular case of Oyo State, we are now told that, bandits, criminals, terrorists, are now attacking Urire local government area, particularly the National Park Service office. And they have killed 4 guards. 1 is under critical condition, so 5 of them are affected. What does this say? It simply reminds us that, look, this issue with terrorism and banditry is spreading. And it should be a wake-up call that this is not isolated to Sokoto State or to Borno State or the North Central. It is, in fact, moving towards the Atlantic Ocean. The Oyo State government, Governor Makinde specifically says that the threat is coming from neighboring states. Those neighboring states will be Kwara, will also be probably Niger. And so the received wisdom here will be that government still has a lot to do more. It's not about asking the United States to move from Sokoto to other parts of Nigeria, because there is a question mark on that particular part of kind of intervention. Now, what's the other topic? Malami, with Justice Emeka Nwite saying that, about 57 properties have been put under forfeiture. Now, the forfeiture at this stage can just be interim forfeiture, to the extent that the forfeiture can still be challenged by the defendant, and that the court, still within the prerogative of the court, can still say, okay, this has been vacated, as we have seen in some other cases. So people should not just rush to judgment. I was saying yesterday when this same issue came up that, look, the learned judge, Emeka Nwite, was saying that there are persons who are accusing him of corruption, that he's being influenced. And I said, look, lawyers are officers in the court of justice, and they can be charged for contempt. I add this morning that the issue is even beyond contempt. They can be arrested. They can be reported, not just to the NBA disciplinary committee. They can be reported to the body of benchers, and their names can be taken off the roll, because all lawyers are expected to be officers in the temple of justice. What I would have expected this lordship to do, is to in fact name the persons involved in the matter. I said other things yesterday about fair hearing, and I hope that former Minister Abubakar Malame will be given fair hearing, and that the media, particularly all these people that have been given microphones and they just say what they like, would also realize that you cannot convict a person until that person, has been convicted. So this raises questions about our judicial process, and also about the performance of those who comment on public issues. Finally, I saw my list that was sent by the producer, Dati Baba Ahmed.
Yes.
Now, he has the absolute right to decide what he wants to do in terms of his political choice. So if he says, well, he's remaining in the Labour Party, that is his choice. Nobody can dictate to him. And he made it very clear that he's not stepping into anybody's shoes. He has been in politics even as far back as the 2019-2018 process, and that nobody should think because Mr. Peter Obi has now ported to the ADC that he will follow him. He says he's not following. He will remain in the party. That is within his constitutional right, and people should respect that in terms of the choice that he has made. However, the final point that should be made is still about Rivers State and other people who are campaigning. The Independent National Electoral Commission has not asked anybody to campaign. So who are these people who are campaigning all over the place, whether it's in Rivers or elsewhere? So there must be a structure in place that can sanction those people, because such persons are not above the laws of Nigeria. There's an INEC timetable which has not even been announced. So I think it's preposterous. It is also offensive. It is an act of indiscipline for anybody in whatever party to keep saying, this is my ambition, this is who I'm campaigning for. That is a violation of the democratic process. And such persons who engage in such acts in any part of the country should be sanctioned. That is when we will know that we're moving towards 2027 on the basis of rules, and not on the basis of the impunity or the brigandage of certain individuals who project themselves as being above the laws of the Federation.
Absolutely. Dr. Abati, I think I'll pick up where you left off, especially with regards to INEC and developments around Dati Baba Ahmed, who looks set to want to throw his hat into the ring for the presidential ticket under the Labour Party. And he used his time yesterday speaking about Peter Obi and how he felt he was a traveler, somebody who was moving from platform to platform. And I remember last year, we were talking about these, Dr. Abati, you have a name for them. Is it homogeneous? What do you call these people who have these feet in various political parties? Amphibious. Amphibious is the word. Amphibious political players. Last year, we also called them political tourists. And this is Nigerian political culture. So for Dati Baba Ahmed to use this, well, under normal circumstances, if we are to look at political philosophy and how the game of politics and going from politics and transitioning to governance is supposed to be played, absolutely, we would want to see more ideology and less, bed hopping from party to party. However, this is the nature of the game. There's a lot of cult personality politics that plays, Machiavellian politics, strongman politics, godfatherism is the name of the game. I think it is an honorable thing for Dati Baba Ahmed to call it out, but I think that it's so deeply entrenched in the political culture, and people are so endeared to the individuals that they follow, that they will follow them anywhere if they choose to do so. As the Obedience have said, where Peter Obi goes is where they will go. And now that takes me to Nyesom Wike and the declaration of this Rainbow Coalition in Rivers State, where he says that it has not been done before, not at a state level anyway, and that he thinks that it's a gamble that is worth taking. So ultimately, he's saying that he has control of various structures in APC, he has control of various structures in the PDP. If you remember at the outing in Oyigbo, I believe it was, he had the APC chairman, state chairman with him, he had the PDP state chairman with him. So he is doing a show of force, and he is showing people that, well, I have control of structures of any of the parties, so all the parties can say what they like to me. However, ultimately, it's a reminder that the politics that is being played currently in Nigeria is a Machiavellian politics where the ends justifies the means, and as long as you have the muscle, the financial muscle, the influence capital to be able to pull support, you will be able to achieve your means, because at the end of the day, power is defined as the ability to create intended effects, and this power is always shown on the campaign trail, where we see people pulling without ideology but with all influence and ability to create the intended outcome. It's a gamble, but let's see if it pays off for Nyesom Wike. However, the challenge for APC now, the challenge for APC is internal party discipline. We've seen this strategy from Nyesom Wike play out in the PDP, and what made the PDP crumble, so to speak, it's not dead and buried, but what's made it disintegrate to the level that it is now is the fact that internal party mechanisms were unable to discipline those players that played along with this game that Nyesom Wike played, or shall I call it the strategy. Within the APC, does the political will to institute party discipline should the need arise, does that political will exist? So we're now going to wait and see whether the presidency, because now he keeps saying he will report to the president. So it seems that the buck stops at the president's table as far as Nyesom Wike is concerned. He has a direct line to that, to the seat of power. So will there be a tolerance for this anti-party, inter-party, amphibious, political tourist activity in the name of a rainbow coalition? Is that the value of Rivers State, that we're prepared to play that game and make an exception? And will it influence other states as well, who now say, well, after all, we're all the same people who are jumping from party to party, so let's just decide how we share the spoils of war, so to speak, when we reach political offices. So I think it's an important strategy to watch and observe, because as we'd said earlier in the week, there are going to be several people disgruntled from all parties, PDP, APC, ADC, and we're going to start seeing more of this after primaries, because many people will not get what they want to get. And it is impossible for one party or one administration to reward everybody. There will be disgruntled people. So let's see where the chips will fall. Well, I'm being told there's 30 seconds. Let's quickly go to the US visa bond, where earlier in the week, Donald Trump had released a list of countries that are most dependent, that have immigrants that are most dependent on United States social welfare. Nigeria ranked 93rd, which was relatively low. In his statement, he said 1 in 3 Nigerian immigrants resident in the United States are accessing social welfare. And he's saying that, well, all of these immigrants that are in the United States are putting pressure on Americans who need access to social welfare. But what I found peculiar about this list is that it had Zaire I don't remember the last time a country called Zaire existed on the African continent. So this now calls into doubt the statistics and the credibility of this list, where he's saying that 1 in 3 Nigerian immigrants is on the American social benefits list. As I round up very quickly, my time is up. To the Chief of Army Staff, who is, currently on a nationwide tour, which is very much welcome. I like that he took some time out to spend time with the Etsu Nupe and encouraging the role of traditional leaders in our security architecture. And it makes the argument resurface, the debate resurface about whether there is a role for our traditional leaders in the Constitution, especially where security architecture is concerned. Because if we remember, Lakurawa, the terrorist group, emerged as a result of being invited by local groups who felt they needed their protection. So if you have the buy-in from traditional rulers, maybe some of these issues can be stamped out. And as I round up, the police and the 76 children rescued who were headed for potential trafficking, it's important for us to see that police are stepping in. It has been army, and we thank the army, but it's good to see a headline that says police are intercepting bandits. And this is why we continue to urge all those policemen who are still loitering around VIPs, even after the presidential order. We know them, some of them are wearing mufti. Please, let them be removed from the VIPs and let them continue to do the good work of ensuring Nigeria.